Imagine a book so dangerous, so powerful, that its very existence has been denied, censored, and erased from history. A book that claims to hold the blueprint, not just to understand energy, but to control it, to bend the world around you in ways that defy reason. The idea sounds like fiction, the stuff of conspiracy theories, or the fevered dreams of mystics. And yet, hints of such knowledge echo through the annals of human history. Whispered in secret societies, buried in ancient temples, and hidden behind the closed doors of the world's most powerful institutions. For centuries, humanity has been told that reality is fixed, that the rules of the universe are immutable. Yet, scattered fragments from forgotten civilizations, mysterious texts, and suppressed research suggest otherwise. What if the world we perceive, the world of limits, of physics, of cause and effect, is only a thin veil over something far more malleable? What if a single mind, armed with the right knowledge, could influence the very fabric of existence itself? Consider the alchemists of medieval Europe, who spent decades in dimly lit chambers, chasing the secret of turning lead into gold. They spoke in riddles, guarded their manuscripts, and claimed to manipulate forces invisible to ordinary perception. Or the ancient sages of the East, who recorded techniques of energy flow, meditation, and consciousness expansion that, when practiced correctly, could alter one's perception of time, space, and matter. Across cultures, across millennia, there is a recurring theme. Knowledge is power, and power over energy, the energy that underpins reality, was always considered dangerous. History also shows us the consequences of curiosity. Books have been burned, thinkers silenced, and entire libraries destroyed because ideas were considered too subversive, too potent, too threatening. And yet, despite centuries of suppression, the whispers persist. Could these forbidden texts reveal more than philosophical speculation or spiritual allegory? Could they, in some measure, give the reader the ability to manipulate energy, consciousness, even reality itself? This is not a story of mere imagination. It is a story of hidden truths, of human ambition, and of the dangerous intersection between knowledge and power. The forbidden book represents more than pages bound in leather or ink. It is a symbol of what humanity could achieve if freed from the limitations imposed upon it by society, by institutions, and by fear itself. And here lies the question that will drive this journey. If reality is malleable, if energy is controllable, if consciousness is the key to unlocking the universe's deepest secrets, why is this knowledge hidden? Who benefits from keeping humanity blind, obedient, and confined to the perception of the world as it is taught to us? What you are about to explore is not just history, nor is it science fiction. It is an investigation into the very nature of reality, into the human mind, and into the shadows, where knowledge too dangerous for the masses has always been kept. Prepare to question everything you think you know, because what follows is an invitation to step beyond the limits of ordinary perception and into a world that has been deliberately hidden from view. Long before the rise of modern science, long before electricity, magnetism, or even the concept of energy as we understand it, humanity gazed at the world and felt a silent, almost mystical force at work. The flicker of a flame, the pull of the tides, the rhythm of the seasons all hinted at a hidden order, a pattern beneath the chaos. Across the globe, civilizations independently discovered that reality might be more than it appeared, and that humans, if trained and disciplined, could interact with these unseen forces. In ancient Egypt, the pharaohs were not only political leaders but also custodians of a sacred knowledge. Temples, hieroglyphs, and rituals reveal that Egyptians understood subtle laws of energy, what we might call today vibrational resonance or conscious intention. Priests performed ceremonies designed to align human consciousness with the natural rhythms of the cosmos. They believed that by mastering these forces, they could maintain harmony between the mortal world and the divine. But this knowledge was never meant for the masses. It was codified in sacred texts, hidden behind symbolic language, and passed only to those deemed worthy. To understand energy was to hold power over life, power over perception, and power over the very flow of reality itself. Far to the east, in the vast expanse of India, the Vedic sages recorded their understanding of energy as an intricate interplay between consciousness and the universe. They described prana, the life forces, a fundamental essence connecting all things. Meditation, breath control, and precise mental discipline were not mere spiritual exercises. They were deliberate tools for perceiving, channeling, and even influencing the unseen currents of existence. The sages observed that consciousness itself could act as a conduit, capable of shaping outcomes in ways that seemed impossible to the untrained mind. These ideas were radical because they suggested that reality was participatory, that human intent could interact with the universe in measurable, profound ways. Meanwhile, in ancient China, Taoist alchemists explored similar concepts through the practice of ki manipulation. They mapped the body's internal energy channels and developed exercises to cultivate vitality, longevity, and spiritual clarity. Their writings, often cloaked in metaphor and allegory, hinted at the possibility of transcending physical limitations. Legends speak of individuals who could influence objects without touching them, heal through touch alone, and even alter the perception of time. While some accounts are undoubtedly mythologized, the repeated emphasis across millennia on energy, consciousness, and transformation cannot be ignored. It paints a picture of a persistent, universal human quest, the desire to master reality itself. But the pursuit of such knowledge has never been neutral. Power attracts attention, and those who understand energy can manipulate not only natural phenomena, but also human behavior. Ancient rulers often co-opted these practices to consolidate control. Pharaohs used ritual and ceremony to maintain political dominance, convincing populations that the ruler's alignment with cosmic forces ensured the stability of the state. In India, kings consulted sages and mystics not merely for spiritual guidance but for strategies that leveraged unseen influence in governance, warfare, and diplomacy. In China, emperors employed Taoist masters to maintain both personal vitality and public perception of divine authority. Secrecy became a natural extension of power. Knowledge of energy manipulation was carefully guarded, its methods encrypted. In symbolism, allegory, and ritual, only those within select circles, priests, mystics, initiates, and the elite, were granted access. Breach of these secrets often meant social ostracization, imprisonment, or even death. The underlying psychology is clear. Humans have long understood that control over unseen forces is also control over the collective imagination. Fear and desire are powerful motivators. By monopolizing knowledge, societies ensured obedience while stimulating awe and reverence. The legacy of these early seekers of energy control is subtle but enduring. The concept of hidden knowledge, the insistence that wisdom must be earned and carefully protected, has echoed across time. Secret orders, mystical societies, and esoteric traditions all trace their philosophical DNA back to these ancient roots. They perpetuated the belief that the universe is not simply observed, it is participated in, interacted with, and potentially influenced by those who understand its hidden laws. What emerges from this historical exploration is a striking psychological truth. Humans are driven by curiosity, but also by the hunger for control. The very act of seeking energy manipulation reflects a desire to transcend vulnerability, to rise above the limits of ordinary existence. Fear of the unknown, coupled with ambition and imagination, created societies where knowledge became both a shield and a weapon. Understanding this ancient pursuit is essential to comprehending the broader story of the Forbidden Book, a story that extends from Egypt's temples to Vedic ashrams, from Taoist mountains to the hidden libraries of the modern world. It is here, in the shadow of history, that the seeds of forbidden knowledge were planted. Knowledge that promises power over energy, over reality, and ultimately, over ourselves. Knowledge that humanity has both feared and revered for thousands of years. To trace its path is to glimpse the very edge of human potential and the dangers that come with attempting to grasp what perhaps was never meant to be fully understood. There comes a moment in human history when knowledge crosses a boundary. It moves from observation to action, from understanding to mastery, and when such knowledge emerges, it is rarely welcomed. It threatens hierarchies, challenges authority, and exposes the fragile foundations upon which societies are built. The forbidden book at the center of this story represents exactly such a threshold, a text said to contain not merely philosophy or speculation, but the blueprint for controlling energy itself, for bending reality in ways that ordinary humans cannot imagine. Legends claim that the book's origins predate many modern civilizations. Some suggest it was compiled from fragments of ancient wisdom, drawing on Egyptian, Vedic, and Taoist teachings, while others argue it was encoded by visionary minds centuries ahead of their time. Its pages were allegedly written in symbolic language, encrypted with layers of meaning, accessible only to those capable of deciphering not just words, but patterns of thought. The text did not merely describe energy. It purported to guide the practitioner to channel it, to understand the laws behind cause and effect, and, ultimately, to manipulate the fabric of reality. To read it was to confront a universe that was participatory, alive, and responsive to human intent. Throughout history, the book was rarely seen by the masses. Accounts suggest that rulers, religious authorities, and secret societies took extraordinary measures to suppress it. Libraries were burned, manuscripts were hidden in vaults, and entire narratives were rewritten to obscure the truth. Governments reportedly feared what would happen if ordinary people grasped even fragments of its wisdom. Could energy, thought, and intention truly alter outcomes? If so, control over the population would no longer rely solely on fear, law, or propaganda. Knowledge itself would become the ultimate instrument of power. The myths surrounding the book only heightened its aura. Scholars debated its existence. Some dismissed it as allegory, a metaphor for spiritual mastery or self-realization. Others whispered of shadowy figures who had glimpsed its contents, individuals who emerged from secrecy with uncanny abilities, insights into the natural world that defied contemporary science. Stories persisted of mystics who influenced weather, healed beyond conventional medicine, or altered events in subtle but profound ways. The more impossible these accounts seemed, the more authorities moved to erase traces of the book from history. Suppression, paradoxically, became a marker of authenticity, and the book's infamy grew precisely because so few had access to it. Central to the book's appeal is the concept of the blueprint. Unlike traditional texts that describe the world, the Forbidden Book allegedly provides a framework for interacting with it at a fundamental level. It outlines methods for tuning consciousness, directing intention, and harmonizing with the unseen energies that underlie matter. These instructions are not mechanical. They demand understanding, discipline, and self-mastery. The book teaches that bending reality begins with awareness, and that energy responds not merely to physical manipulation, but to the alignment of mind, will, and perception. The philosophical implications are staggering. If human consciousness is capable of influencing reality, then what we call limits, laws, or impossibilities may be negotiable, contingent on knowledge and intent. Yet the pursuit of this knowledge carries inherent danger. Historical accounts hint at the costs of misuse. Those who attempted to harness energy without discipline or wisdom reportedly faced disorientation, madness, or catastrophic failure. The blueprint is, by design, selective. It rewards insight and punishes arrogance. This has only amplified the secrecy surrounding the book, feeding a cycle of fear, fascination, and mystique. It is as much a psychological tool as a physical one, challenging the reader to confront not just external reality, but the deepest recesses of their own mind. Modern interpretations suggest that the book's principles were never entirely lost. They may have been encoded into philosophy, mathematics, and emerging sciences, influencing patterns of innovation subtly but profoundly. The methods for manipulating energy, once the province of mystics and initiates, could have informed early discoveries in electromagnetism, quantum theory, and consciousness studies. Even if the book itself has been hidden or destroyed, its blueprint might still be reflected in the hidden architecture of knowledge deliberately filtered, interpreted, or repurposed by those who understood its potential. Ultimately, the book asks questions rather than offering guarantees. What does it mean to bend reality? How far can human consciousness extend its influence? Are the laws of the universe fixed, or merely suggestions, responsive to those who understand them deeply enough? These questions alone reveal the profound psychological insight embedded in the text. The act of seeking knowledge transforms the seeker. In exploring the book, one is forced to confront the interplay between power, perception, and responsibility, and to grapple with the possibility that reality itself may not be as immutable as it seems. In this sense, the Forbidden Book is more than a collection of techniques. It is a mirror, reflecting the deepest aspirations, fears, and limitations of human consciousness. Its suppression throughout history speaks less to the impossibility of its knowledge than to the disruptive potential it represents. To encounter it, even conceptually, is to acknowledge that the universe may respond to intent, that energy may bend under conscious will, and that the boundaries of reality might exist not as walls, but as challenges to be understood, respected, and mastered. The emergence of this book, shrouded in secrecy, lies at the heart of the story we are exploring. It is a story of knowledge, too powerful to be free, a knowledge that shapes human ambition, governs secrecy, and continues to haunt the fringes of intellectual pursuit. And as we move forward, we must ask ourselves, if such a blueprint truly exists, what might it reveal about the limits we impose on ourselves, and the reality we take for granted every single day? What if the boundary between mind and matter is not as rigid as we have been led to believe? For centuries, humanity has assumed that consciousness merely observes reality, that the universe exists independently of thought, and that the laws of physics are immutable. Yet, scattered evidence, both ancient and modern, challenges this assumption, hinting at a deeper, more interactive relationship between human awareness and the world around us. The Forbidden Book, with its blueprint for energy manipulation, may have codified what science is only beginning to explore. At the most accessible level, the placebo effect demonstrates that belief alone can produce tangible physiological changes. Patients given sugar pills often experience real relief, sometimes even complete remission of symptoms, simply because their minds anticipate healing. This phenomenon is more than psychological trickery. It reveals a subtle truth: consciousness can influence matter, even in the rigid framework of biology. Energy manipulation, as described in the book, may operate on a similar principle, extending the scope from personal health to broader, more profound interactions with the physical world. The field of bioenergetics explores the ways living systems generate, transmit, and respond to energy. Every heartbeat, neural impulse, and cellular process is governed by an intricate web of electromagnetic interactions. Some experimental research suggests that the human body can, in subtle ways, affect its surroundings through these energy fields. Practitioners of meditation, energy healing, and martial arts have long claimed the ability to influence objects, people, and environments without direct physical contact. While mainstream science has been skeptical, patterns observed in controlled studies hint at the plausibility of what was once dismissed as myth. Quantum physics adds another layer of intrigue. Experiments at the subatomic level consistently reveal phenomena that defy classical intuition. Particles appear to exist in multiple states until observed. Outcomes seem to respond to measurement, and entangled particles influence each other instantaneously across vast distances. These results suggest that consciousness may not be a passive observer, but an active participant, capable of influencing outcomes in ways that are still poorly understood. The Forbidden Book's blueprint may, in essence, describe a method for consciously navigating these principles, bridging the gap between thought and reality, between intention and manifestation. Human psychology plays a critical role in this equation. Cognitive biases, the mental shortcuts that shape perception, make humans highly susceptible to both belief and manipulation. Confirmation bias leads us to notice evidence that supports what we already believe, while ignoring contradictions. Authority bias convinces us to trust those who claim access to special knowledge. These biases are tools that both ancient mystics and modern institutions have exploited to amplify the perceived potency of secret knowledge. If energy and reality are malleable, then understanding the psychological dimension is as crucial as mastering the physical principles. Social conditioning further entrenches this dynamic. From birth, humans are taught to defer to established norms, to accept the limits imposed by society, and to fear the consequences of stepping outside conventional boundaries. Secret knowledge, by contrast, challenges this conditioning. It suggests that boundaries are not absolute, that power can be exercised through understanding rather than force, and that human potential is far greater than typically acknowledged. The tension between conformity and mastery creates a fertile ground for the myths and allure surrounding forbidden texts. History provides striking examples of phenomena that appear to transcend ordinary explanation. Psychic experiments conducted in controlled laboratories have sometimes produced results that conventional science struggles to explain. Healers, shamans, and spiritual practitioners throughout time have demonstrated the capacity to influence health, perception, and outcomes in ways that suggest the human mind interacts with energy fields beyond what is currently accepted. Even in modern experiments, intention-based practices, such as focused meditation on distant targets, have yielded statistically significant deviations from random expectations. While skeptics argue these results are anomalies, their persistence hints at deeper mechanisms that the Forbidden Book may have codified. The implications are profound. If consciousness can interact with energy, if belief can shape outcomes, and if reality responds at least in part to human intention, then the pursuit of mastery over energy is not mere superstition. It is an exploration of the latent capacities of the mind, a structured attempt to navigate the interface between thought and the material world. The Forbidden Book's blueprint, whether metaphorical or practical, reflects an understanding that has been obscured, suppressed, and partially rediscovered across millennia. Ultimately, the science and psychology behind energy manipulation reveal a convergence of mind, matter, and intention. Humans are not passive observers of the universe. We are participants in its unfolding. Our perceptions shape reality, our beliefs influence outcomes, and our consciousness may be the medium through which energy itself can be directed. The Forbidden Book promised mastery over this interface, blending practical techniques with profound psychological insight. It challenges us to reconsider the limits of human potential and the nature of the reality we inhabit. The key insight is unsettling, yet liberating. What we perceive as immutable rules may be flexible when approached with knowledge, discipline, and awareness. To understand energy manipulation is not merely to gain power over external phenomena, but to confront the inner architecture of the mind, the biases and beliefs that shape perception, and the subtle forces that govern both human behavior and the physical world. knowledge of these principles has always been dangerous, precisely because it reveals the mechanisms through which reality and those who understand it can be influenced. The secrets of energy, manipulation, and reality bending are no longer confined to the temples of ancient Egypt or the mountains of Taoist China. Today, these principles, once whispered in secrecy and encoded in arcane texts, manifest in ways both subtle and overt, woven into the structures of modern society. The question is not whether knowledge exists, but who wields it and how. Governments, corporations, and elite networks operate as custodians of influence, controlling energy systems, information flows, and even the perception of reality itself. Consider mass media, the modern equivalent of ancient rituals. News, entertainment, and social media shape not only what we know, but how we feel, think, and act. Information is energy in motion. Perception is reality for most people. By curating narratives, emphasizing certain events, and downplaying others, institutions effectively guide collective consciousness. Subtle cues, repetition, and framing ensure that millions respond in predictable ways, often unaware of the psychological forces shaping their decisions. This is energy manipulation on a social scale, a modern extension of the same principles that mystics, alchemists, and sages once practiced individually. Economic systems operate similarly. Capital flows, resource allocation, and technological control are forms of energy distribution. Those who understand these systems and how perception, desire, and belief drive human behavior hold disproportionate power. Economic levers can incentivize compliance, suppress dissent, and influence global events without a single gun being fired. Wealth and influence are the modern conduits of the same force that ancient rulers once sought through ritual and secret knowledge. The blueprint for control persists, encoded in the architecture of society rather than in sacred manuscripts. Emerging technologies amplify this influence exponentially. Algorithms track behavior, predict choices, and even manipulate desires, responding to data with precision that would have seemed magical to past generations. The collective human mind, now mapped digitally, can be influenced en masse. Social conditioning, reinforced by technology, shapes attention, emotions, and perception, subtly steering decisions that feel autonomous but are, in part, engineered. If energy is information and intention, then technology is the ultimate tool for directing its flow on a planetary scale. The philosophical implications are profound. Understanding these mechanisms is not merely an academic exercise, it is essential to comprehending freedom, agency, and human potential. If consciousness and energy are malleable, then reality itself is negotiable. Yet, in the modern world, that knowledge is concentrated, hidden behind the complexity of financial systems, media networks, and technological infrastructure. Humanity, in effect, may be trapped within an artificial reality shaped by those who understand and apply the blueprint of influence, while the majority remain unaware of the forces acting upon them. Yet there is also opportunity. Awareness is the first step toward reclaiming agency. History suggests that knowledge, once suppressed, eventually resurfaces. The very curiosity that drives individuals to question authority, to study patterns, and to explore consciousness may allow society to awaken collectively to these hidden forces. If the principles of energy and perception are understood, they could be used not for control, but for empowerment, to enhance creativity, deepen understanding, and foster connection. The same blueprint that enables domination could, in principle, enable liberation. The danger lies in imbalance. Concentrated knowledge, left unchecked, can manipulate populations, distort reality, and entrench power. Equitable understanding, on the other hand, could democratize access to energy and consciousness, fundamentally reshaping society. The stakes are not theoretical. They touch every aspect of human experience: health, relationships, governance, and the environment. The forces at play are subtle, but omnipresent, influencing the trajectory of civilization in ways few can perceive, and even fewer comprehend. The enduring lesson is clear: control over energy, perception, and consciousness has always been central to power. In ancient times, it was the privilege of priests, mystics, and rulers. Today, it is the domain of governments, corporations, and technocrats who understand the same principles through data, influence, and technology. The question that lingers is both urgent and unsettling. Could humanity awaken to this knowledge once more? Or are we destined to remain confined within realities shaped by those who already hold the keys? The modern implications of the Forbidden Book are not abstract or fantastical. They are woven into the very fabric of contemporary life. Understanding them challenges the way we see freedom, authority, and possibility. To recognize the forces shaping thought, energy, and perception is to glimpse the invisible architecture of our world, and to confront the question that has haunted seekers across millennia: if reality can be influenced, who decides how it will unfold? Knowledge is not neutral. It carries weight, and with it comes responsibility. Throughout history, those who sought to grasp forces beyond ordinary understanding often faced consequences that were as dramatic as the discoveries themselves. The Forbidden Book, with its promise of controlling energy and bending reality, is no exception. Its allure is irresistible, but the path it offers is treacherous. To step into the realm of mastery over energy is to step into a world where mistakes can be catastrophic, where curiosity alone is not enough to ensure survival or success. Consider the alchemists of medieval Europe. Many devoted decades to transmuting base metals into gold or attempting to harness elixirs of immortality. Some were celebrated as visionaries, yet countless others were ruined, physically, mentally, or socially, when their experiments failed. Their ambition outpaced their understanding, illustrating a timeless principle: power without wisdom is dangerous. The same pattern appears in Eastern traditions, where Taoist adepts warned of overreach. Meditative practices designed to cultivate energy could, if undertaken recklessly, lead to physical collapse, mental confusion, or spiritual disorientation. In every culture, the pursuit of forbidden knowledge has been framed as a double-edged sword, promising transformation while demanding extreme discipline and insight. The psychological implications are equally profound. Human beings are driven by curiosity, desire, and the urge to control. These traits can propel discovery, but they can also blind the seeker. Awareness of powerful knowledge without the corresponding capacity for restraint can lead to obsession, paranoia, and isolation. Many historical accounts describe individuals who glimpsed forbidden truths and were consumed by them, their lives unraveling because they were unprepared to integrate what they had learned. Knowledge is a mirror. It reveals the depths of the mind as much as the secrets of the universe. Without self-understanding, mastery over external forces can become a weapon turned inward, a source of ruin rather than empowerment. Ethics are inseparable from this pursuit. To manipulate energy, consciousness, or perception is to intervene in systems that affect others, whether on an individual, social, or even planetary scale. The Forbidden Book implicitly teaches that mastery comes with responsibility, that awareness without action can be as harmful as action without awareness. The temptation to wield power without considering consequences has shaped the rise and fall of empires, the trajectory of scientific and spiritual communities, and the fates of countless individuals. History is a record of those who failed to respect this balance, serving as a warning to all who would tread the same path. The human struggle with forbidden knowledge reflects a deeper philosophical truth. True mastery over reality does not begin with bending the universe to one's will, but with understanding oneself, the internal landscape, thoughts, intentions, fears, and desires, is the proving ground for any interaction with external energy. Without insight into one's own mind, even the most powerful techniques become tools of chaos rather than creation. The Forbidden Book is as much about self-mastery as it is about universal mastery. It teaches that the inner journey is inseparable from the outer one. This lesson carries practical implications for the modern seeker. In a world increasingly dominated by technology, media, and systems of influence, the principles of energy manipulation and reality shaping are more relevant than ever. Knowledge is accessible in ways unimaginable to past generations. But the danger remains: without wisdom, discernment, and ethical grounding, power can corrupt, distort perception, and create consequences that ripple far beyond the individual. Curiosity must be tempered with restraint, ambition balanced with responsibility, and insight paired with humility. Ultimately, the cost of forbidden knowledge is a reminder of human nature itself. Curiosity drives innovation, ambition fuels progress, and the desire for understanding propels civilization forward. Yet, each of these forces carries inherent risks when divorced from self-awareness and ethical grounding. The Forbidden Book, real or symbolic, serves as a mirror, reflecting both the extraordinary potential and the perilous fragility of the human mind. True power lies not in bending the universe to one's will, but in mastering one's thought, intention, and action in harmony with both the internal and external worlds. In this reflection, the warnings are clear. The pursuit of energy, consciousness, and reality itself demands courage, discipline, and ethical clarity. It is a path that offers profound insight and extraordinary potential, but it is also a path fraught with peril. To engage with such knowledge is to accept the weight of responsibility, to confront the depths of the mind, and to recognize that mastery begins not with conquest, but with understanding, restraint, and awareness. What if everything we take for granted, every law, every limit, every assumption about reality is not as fixed as it seems? What if energy, consciousness, and perception are more malleable than we have been taught to believe? Throughout history, the pursuit of forbidden knowledge has revealed glimpses of this possibility in the practices of ancient mystics, the secrets of alchemists, the coded wisdom of secret societies, and the suppressed texts that promised mastery over forces beyond ordinary comprehension. These fragments suggest that reality is not a static backdrop, but a living, responsive field, shaped as much by awareness as by circumstance. The implications are staggering. If human consciousness can interact with the underlying energies of the universe, then potential is no longer a passive concept. TIT is participatory. Every thought, intention, and act of focus may ripple through unseen layers of reality, subtly bending outcomes, shaping perception, and influencing the world around us. This is not mere fantasy. Modern science, psychology, and quantum theory hint at mechanisms that could support what ancient seekers understood intuitively, that the universe is, in some way, responsive to the mind that engages it. Yet this knowledge carries responsibility. Power without wisdom, awareness without action, curiosity without discipline all carry consequences. History is filled with those who reached beyond their understanding, only to be consumed by it. The path of mastery begins not with the desire to control, but with the courage to understand oneself, to align intention with insight, and to respect the delicate balance between knowledge and consequence. True awakening is as much internal as it is external. It is the harmonization of mind, heart, and awareness with the subtle forces that permeate existence. The Forbidden Book, real or symbolic, represents more than secrets to manipulate energy or bend reality. It embodies the human quest to pierce the veil of ordinary perception and glimpse the extraordinary potential that lies within and around us. It challenges us to question not only the nature of reality, but the limitations we impose on ourselves and the degree to which society, conditioning, and fear have shaped what we believe is possible as we confront these ideas. One truth becomes undeniable. Awakening to possibility requires curiosity tempered by discipline, insight tempered by humility, and action guided by responsibility. To recognize that reality may be flexible is to step into a world of profound opportunity, but also profound accountability. The journey is not about conquering the universe, it is about mastering the self, perceiving the interconnectedness of all things, and exploring the limits of consciousness with care, courage, and clarity. In the end, the question lingers: if energy and reality are indeed malleable, if human consciousness holds untapped power, then what will we do with this knowledge? Will we awaken to our potential, or remain confined within the boundaries of what we have been told is possible? The answer may define not just our individual lives, but the future of humanity itself.